This is a story about shame and truth-telling. I was raised in a tradition in which there was a lot of shame in the religious tradition in which I was raised, and I kind of had to deal with that for many, many years, this shameful thing. It's like you can't let people know about this because they'll be judgmental and you'll be ashamed. And I remember when I learned a really good lesson about shame and truth-telling. And this was, I'd grown up in a fairly modest household with not much money. And I got married, and my wife had grown up in a really, wealthy household. And I started to succeed in my business and started to make a little money. And she became critical of the way I would spend the money. I would indulge myself. I would buy things, sometimes for status. I'd upgrade myself to first class on the plane. And it was not just comfort. There was some status in it. And she had, criticized me about this. And again, given the background of shame, I was kind of sensitive about this. It was an issue between the two of us. And one day, I was traveling around teaching workshops, and I was in Miami, and a psychiatrist friend of mine took me out to dinner. He had sponsored the workshop, and he whipped out, to pay for the dinner, he whipped out his American Express Platinum card, which I'd never seen before. They were new in those days. And I said, "What's that?" It looked really impressive. And he said, "Oh, it's a Platinum card." And I had a regular American Express card, but this looked really cooler. And he said, "Yeah, there's no limit on it. It's a really cool card." So I was like, wow, that's status. And I didn't think anything more about it until about a year later when I got a solicitation in the mail from American Express. And they said, "Would you like to apply for a Platinum card?" And I thought, yeah, I'd sort of like one of those. That guy had it, but I probably won't get it because I didn't always pay my credit card bill on time or my charge card bills on time. I thought, but it'd be a kick to get it. It's $250, but it's worth it for the status of it. So I filled it out and sent it off and didn't think anything more about it until about a week later when it was late at night, kids had gone to bed. My wife was next to me in bed, and she saved up her mail for a week. I went through mine typically every day, but she saved hers up for a week, and she was going through her mail. Just next to me, I was reading, and she was throwing stuff away, all the junk mail you get. And she says, just out of the blue, she says, "Look at this." She said, "I got a solicitation for American Express Platinum card." She said, "What idiot would pay $250 just to have the status of a Platinum card? You can use a regular American Express card. It's the same thing." So I was like, I'm one of those idiots. And she'd probably get upset if she knew I applied for it. But I probably won't get it anyway. There's no need to have that argument right now. I'll just, if I get it, we'll have that discussion later. Turned out to be a big mistake. So this was my lesson here. So about a month later, I'd gotten back from a 2.5-week trip to Europe where I went over and taught a bunch of workshops. I got back and I had a bunch of mail waiting. Usually I went through it every day, but there was a big stack of mail. Kids were at school, my wife was at work, and I started to go through the mail, and I was getting rid of stuff and putting stuff aside that I needed to deal with, and I got a little envelope that said, from American Express, it said, "Hey, did you get your Platinum card? We sent it a couple of weeks ago, or a week and a half ago. And you should have gotten it by now. If you haven't, it might have gotten stolen, so make sure you give us a call to, we'll issue a replacement and we'll talk to you about it." So I went through the rest of the mail, no Platinum card. So I called them and I said, "I think you need to send a replacement because I didn't get it." And I got the thing that said, "Did you get it?" And they said, "Well, did anybody else handle your mail while you were gone?" I told them I was in Europe. They said, "Did anybody else handle your mail?" I said, "Well, yeah, my kids and my wife would have brought it in from the mailbox." And they said, "Well, will you ask them first before we issue a replacement card because maybe they put it aside for you?" And I said, "Do I have to?" And they said, "Yeah, you really have to." So it's like, oh, okay. So the kids came home from school before my wife came home from work. I asked them all. They hadn't seen it. Finally, my wife came home from work, and I had to sit down and say, "Look, there's something I need to talk to you about. I applied for a Platinum card. I was kind of embarrassed about it because I knew you were critical about this stuff. And when you said what kind of idiot would apply for, pay $250, I didn't want to have that discussion then." And she was, of course, upset that I had wanted to pay $250 for this indulgence in the status symbol, but she was doubly upset that I'd hidden it from her. And she said, "What else are you hiding from me because you're embarrassed about it or ashamed about it?" And that got into a whole other issue. So here's the lesson I learned. You're going to have to deal with it one way or another. It always comes out in the wash, doesn't it? I mean, it always comes out in the wash eventually. So you might as well deal with it head on. If there's something you're embarrassed about or ashamed about and you don't want to bring up, it's going to come out eventually. So that's the point of the Platinum card story.